Ever wondered how a simple fact can save your life? Well, let's dive into that, shall we? Knowledge, they say, is power. And in some cases, it can be your lifeline. We're talking about the kind of knowledge that could potentially save your life in a critical situation. You know, those little nuggets of information that, when applied correctly, can turn a dire circumstance into a tale of survival. Ever thought about how knowing the Heimlich maneuver could save someone from choking at a dinner party? Or how understanding the symptoms of a stroke could buy precious time in a medical emergency? These aren't just random facts, folks. They're life-saving tools tucked away in the corners of our minds, ready to spring into action when needed. So buckle up and prepare to have your mind expanded. Join us as we unveil 10 lesser-known facts that could one day save your life. Did you know about the rule of threes? It's a basic survival guideline that's pretty straightforward, but crucial to remember. Picture this. You're stranded in the wilderness, or perhaps in a dire situation where the basics aren't readily available. The rule of threes is your survival mantra. Here's how it goes. Humans can generally survive about 3 minutes without air. That's the time it takes before your brain starts to shut down from lack of oxygen. Next, we have 3 hours. That's how long you can endure without shelter in extreme conditions, whether it's the blistering heat of a desert or the icy grip of a snowstorm. Moving on, we can survive 3 days without water. Dehydration is a serious threat, and the human body craves hydration. Lastly, we can make it for about 3 weeks without food. It's not ideal, but our bodies are built to withstand periods of fasting. Remember, the rule of threes is a survival guideline, not a hard and fast rule. Heard of the Heimlich maneuver? It's a simple technique that can make all the difference when someone's choking. Picture this. You're at a dinner party. Someone starts choking on a piece of food. They can't cough. They can't speak. They're struggling to breathe. Panic ensues. But wait, you know what to do. The Heimlich maneuver, also known as abdominal thrusts, can forcefully expel the object blocking the airway. You stand behind the person, wrap your arms around their waist, make a fist with one hand, place it just above their navel, and then grab your fist with your other hand. You give quick upward thrusts to help dislodge the obstruction. Repeat until the object is expelled or the person can breathe or cough forcefully. Remember, it's not a gentle action, but it's not about causing harm. It's about saving a life. In a choking emergency, the Heimlich maneuver can be a real lifesaver. What if someone just passed out? Now that's a scenario no one wants to encounter, but it's essential to know how to respond. The recovery position plays a critical role here. It's a simple but life-saving technique that can prevent an unconscious person from choking on their own vomit. Imagine this. You're at a party and someone collapses. Panic ensues, but you're prepared. You step in and you put that person in the recovery position. How? You start by checking their airways. Then you lay them on their side, ensuring one arm is under their head for support and the other arm is placed along their body. Their top leg is bent at the knee to keep them from rolling onto their stomach. This position allows fluids to drain from the person's mouth instead of going down their windpipe. It's a simple intervention that can buy crucial time until medical help arrives. The recovery position can prevent a bad situation from becoming much worse. How can you tell if someone is having a stroke? This is a crucial question, and the answer could save a life. The key is to remember the acronym FAST. Let's break it down. F stands for face. If one side of the face droops or is numb, it could be a sign of a stroke. Ask the person to smile and see if it's uneven or lopsided. Next is A for arms. Ask the person to raise both arms. If one arm drifts downward or they can't raise it, it's another warning sign. S is for speech. Is their speech slurred or strange? Can they understand you? Ask them to repeat a simple sentence. Finally, TE stands for time. If you observe any of these signs, it's time to call emergency services. The sooner a stroke is treated, the better the chances of recovery. Knowing the signs of a stroke can mean the difference between life and death. Remember, FAST could be your fastest way to save a life. Ever thought about learning CPR? Well, it's about time you did. It's one of those skills you hope you'll never have to use, but when it's needed, it can be a real game changer. CPR, or cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is a life-saving technique used when someone's heart has stopped beating or they've stopped breathing. It's essentially a way to manually keep the heart pumping. circulating oxygen-rich blood to the brain and other vital organs. Here's the basic breakdown. First, you check the scene for safety, then tap and shout to see if the person responds. If they don't, call for medical help and begin chest compressions. Place the heel of your hand on the center of the person's chest and push hard and fast. You're aiming for at least 100 compressions per minute. After every 30 compressions, give 2 rescue breaths. Remember, every second counts. CPR can be a lifesaver in a cardiac emergency. Do you know what to do if a fire breaks out in your home? It's a question we hope we'll never have to answer, but the truth is, fires can happen anywhere, anytime. That's why knowing basic fire safety measures is absolutely essential. First up, let's talk about the age-old advice. Stop, drop, and roll. If your clothes catch fire, don't run. Running can make the fire spread. Instead, stop where you are, drop to the ground, and roll over back and forth until the fire is out. Next, let's discuss how to exit a burning building safely. Always stay low to avoid smoke inhalation. Test doors before opening them. If it's hot, find another way out. Remember, your priority is to get out. Don't stop for possessions. And once you're out, stay out. Fire can be terrifying, but with the right knowledge, you can increase your chances of survival. Fire safety knowledge can prevent a tragedy. What would you do if you fell into deep water? It's not something we often think about, but the knowledge could be a lifesaver. The first rule of thumb is not to panic. Easier said than done, right? But staying calm helps you think clearly and conserve energy. Next, you want to float. If you're in deep water, float on your back. This position keeps your mouth and nose above the water and allows you to breathe. It also uses less energy than treading water or swimming, which is vital if you're waiting for help to arrive. While floating, make sure to signal for help. Wave your arms, shout, do whatever you can to attract attention. Remember, water safety isn't just about knowing how to swim. It's also about understanding how to handle unexpected situations. Even strong swimmers can get into trouble in water, so these tips are for everyone. Water safety is crucial even if you're not planning to go swimming. Do you know which plants are dangerous? Out there in the wild or even in your own backyard, lurk plants that are harmful to humans. Let's talk about a few. First, there's poison ivy. Touching it can cause a rash, itching, and swelling. It's identifiable by its clusters of 3 leaves. Next up, we have poison oak. Similar to poison ivy, it also causes skin irritations but has leaves that resemble an oak leaf. Then there's the infamous poison sumac. Found in wet, swampy areas, this plant can cause severe skin irritation, much worse than poison ivy or oak. It has clusters of 7 to 13 leaves on each stem. Last but not least, the deadly nightshade. It's a plant that produces toxic berries which, when ingested, can cause hallucinations, paralysis, and in severe cases, even death. Remember, being able to identify these plants and understanding their potential harm is crucial when you're out and about. Knowledge of dangerous plants can save you from a painful experience. What do you do if you start to feel extremely cold? Well, that's a good question. Hypothermia is a serious condition that can sneak up on you when you least expect it. It happens when your body loses heat faster than it can produce it, and your body temperature drops dangerously low. The signs may start with shivering, but as hypothermia progresses, you might notice your speech slurring, or you might experience a lack of coordination and fatigue. If you're alone in a cold environment and these symptoms start to creep in, you're facing a real danger. The first thing you need to do is seek immediate warmth. Get out of the cold if you can, change into dry clothing if you're wet, and try to consume warm, sugary drinks or foods if possible. But remember, these are just temporary measures. Hypothermia is a medical emergency. It's critical to get medical attention as soon as you can. Knowing how to respond to hypothermia can save your life. What's in your first aid kit? It's a question we should all be asking ourselves. But more importantly, do we know how to use what's in there? Basic first aid skills like cleaning and dressing a wound can make a world of difference when it counts. Picture this, you're out hiking and you scrape your knee on a jagged rock. It's bleeding but not severely. What do? First, you clean the wound to get rid of any dirt or bacteria that could cause an infection. Use clean water if available or a wound cleaning solution from your first aid kit. Next, dry the area gently. Then apply a thin layer of an antibiotic ointment if you have it. This helps to prevent infection. Finally, cover the wound with a clean bandage or dressing. Make sure it's secure, but not too tight. Remember, the goal is to stop the bleeding and prevent infection. And that's basic first aid for you. Basic first aid skills can be the difference between a quick recovery and a serious infection. So, what have we learned? From the rule of threes, we now understand the human body's basic survival needs in critical situations. We've discovered the Heimlich maneuver, a simple yet effective technique to save someone from choking. We've learned about the recovery position, a life-saving posture that can help maintain an unconscious person's airway. We've recognized the symptoms of a stroke, enabling us to act fast and get help. We've grasped the basics of CPR, a critical skill that can restart a heart. We've reviewed fire safety, learning how to react when flames break out. We've dived into water safety, understanding the importance of staying calm and afloat. We've identified dangerous plants that can harm us in the wild. We've learned how to deal with hypothermia, a silent killer in cold environments. And finally, we've covered basic first aid skills, the first line of defense in many emergencies. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it can save your life.